Every time she speaks, she gets less likable.
She's now bragging about the success of Snow White, which is a movie that's going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars, and mainly because of her, and because nobody wanted to support her.
I seriously didn't know that things got this bad for this Rachel Zegler Snow White movie, but I'm reading this right now, and I'm worried about Rachel Zegler's career. I don't see how she comes back from this.
Doesn't need a prince to save her, and not surrounded by 7 weird people. Oh, okay, just CGI fictional goblins, I guess.
There are empty theaters all around the country. We are now at a 1 out of 10 on IMDb for the new Snow White, and it couldn't happen to a better person.
But you don't seemingly like your own character, so she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
Controversy around the film began ever since we learned that there would be no Prince Charming because apparently he kissed her without consent, and also no woman needs a man to rescue her. The movie also used CGI for the Seven Dwarfs rather than actors because they thought using real people would be offensive.
A modern-day fairy tale in free fall, that's exactly what's happening with Disney's latest Snow White remake. Fans who once adored the innocent princess and her 7 loyal dwarfs are left scratching their heads, outraged by abrupt changes that topple the movie's very foundation. But the real shock isn't just the storyline, it's the larger-than-life drama swirling around the film's star Rachel Zegler, who has single-handedly fanned the flames of controversy.
Rachel is literally the star of a Disney movie, and she acts like she's some sort of victim, and that's the sort of mentality that is just poisoning people's minds. Like, she acts like her life is so bad.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
And if she hadn't have opened her mouth, I think that this movie might have done well. They might have just been able to ride on the hopium of the movie and some well-cut trailers, and people would have paid to go see it. And then it would have fallen off when people knew it was garbage.
I don't think they're gonna buy it. I don't think they're gonna watch it. I don't think they're gonna like it.
But Rachel Zegler made it so hateable that you really sabotaged and took hundreds of millions of dollars from the studio. I don't know how anyone would ever want to go into business with her ever.
Yeah, we had more dwarfs than we did viewers in most of these theaters. And as you know, there were no dwarfs other than some CGI weird generated version of them.
This truly is the worst casting maybe in the history of the film industry.
You know the saying, go woke, get broke, and Disney's gonna lose money on this movie. And I believe it only made less than $1 million in China.
Do you know how hard it is to find an attractive young woman in Hollywood who can act and sing? It's not hard. Who just isn't going to offend half the country.
I truly do believe that. There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed. She's unhappy. The reality is she's just not stable. Like the majority of people in Hollywood, they're just not stable human beings.
Disney's Bob Iger says their mission is to entertain, not send messaging as Snow White sales compete for worst performing live-action Disney adaptation ever.
If you're hungry for the full story, why diehard Disney lovers are burning with disappointment, how entire store owners have pulled merchandise from their shelves, and what exactly led to this spectacular meltdown, then buckle up. We're about to step into a realm where one of the most cherished fairy tales of all time is on the brink of collapse. Before diving into the modern disaster, it's crucial to remember why the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs has endured for nearly a century.
I would highly advise that you boycott this film, no matter how much your children love Snow White.
Don't alienate half of the country when you're putting out a product meant to appeal to all. It's the Michael Jordan Republicans buy sneakers too. They spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
Some of you want us to hire actual dwarf humans, and then we thought we would have CGI magical creatures. How about this? We'll still offend the dwarves, but we'll CGI dwarf.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, how badly did Disney's new Snow White flop after all?
And if you disagree with this sentiment, I don't need your business. Thanks.
I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it, you didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White.
Right.
You should shut up and do the job.
Released in 1937, it wasn't merely the world's first full-length animated feature, it became the cornerstone of Walt Disney's entire empire. Old newsreels show audiences trembling with wonder at the sight of full-color animation, a phenomenon utterly new for its time. Children and parents alike were entranced by Snow White's wholesome charm, the dwarfs' comedic personalities, and the film's timeless message that kindness can conquer darkness. This deep-rooted nostalgia isn't something that can be casually tossed aside. For many, the original film represents childhood innocence, a sense of wonder, and a piece of cinematic history.
Every one of the 18 hours I am in the Snow White dress, I expect to get paid. If it's 18 hours, I want 18 hours of pay. I'm sure she got underpaid as a Disney lead actress.
And because of that profound emotional connection, messing with the formula has always been risky. Disney, however, decided to bet on a bold reinterpretation, a gamble that might now rank among its biggest miscalculations. Disney's intention was simple on paper: refresh a beloved classic for today's audience, emphasizing female empowerment and updated social values.
A few lessons for Disney. Number one, stop cannibalizing all your old IP. Like, it's really bad. It's really bad business. Number two, please stop changing all of the historic plots, which actually have meaning to generations of people, to instead become generic woke story about how woman leads revolutionary uprising and she don't need no man.
The creative team likely thought this approach would resonate with younger viewers hungry for modernized narratives. However, while some filmgoers cheer for new perspectives, many traditional fans felt an immediate sense of betrayal. Gone was the prince's iconic role. Gone were the dwarfs as we originally knew them. Disney introduced CGI magical creatures to avoid perceived insensitivity, only to end up alienating the very community they aimed to protect. According to early reports, focus groups emerged from test screenings visibly confused, describing the new storyline as a patchwork of disjointed ideas that overshadowed the enchanting soul of the fairy tale. It was no simple revamp, it was a sweeping overhaul that nearly incinerated the original's essence. If the script itself sparked discontent, Rachel Zegler's off-screen remarks piled on the fuel. After building a promising early career in musicals, she stepped into the iconic shoes of Snow White and proceeded to publicly slam elements of the original story, calling the 1937 prince a stalker and labeling the original version outdated. She seemed convinced that her blunt criticisms would spark a fresh revolution in how we perceive Disney classics. Instead, fans felt she was insulting the source material. Her social media comments about demanding pay for every hour in the dress left audiences baffled, especially those struggling to make ends meet in the real world. Swiftly, public sentiment turned sour. People who might have paid to watch a whimsical retelling found themselves put off by Zegler's attitude, calling it arrogant and tone-deaf. "If you hate the role so much, why take it?" became a common refrain in comment sections. As the film finally stumbled into theaters, the worst fears of Disney executives became a grim reality. Theater owners reported empty seats. Critics tore the movie apart with scathing words like Frankenstein narrative and hollow shell of its predecessor. Online rating platforms were equally merciless. The film plummeted to an alarming 1.6 out of 10 on IMDb. Disgruntled viewers bashed everything from the acting to the visual effects, echoing a unified sentiment that the project had lost the fairy tale magic. Financially, it was a nightmarish scenario. Production costs ballooned past the $250 million mark, an astronomical sum for a family film that was supposed to be safe money by virtue of its legacy name. Now, executives who had boasted about the bulletproof Disney brand were left with the realization that nostalgia can't rescue a film weighed down by creative missteps and a heated PR crisis. As soon as word of the flop spread, social media came alive with a chorus of disapproval and plenty of humor. Memes depicted Snow White searching in vain for an audience, while the dwarfs, both real and CGI, were turned into comedic avatars for misguided corporate decisions. TikTok creators posted snarky parodies portraying Rachel Zegler's version of Snow White as an aloof diva scolding the prince for his existence. In some corners of the internet, supporters of the movie tried to counter the negativity, arguing that critics were resisting progressive themes out of stubborn nostalgia. But they quickly found themselves drowned out by a tsunami of public frustration. Even individuals typically open to reboots found this adaptation lacking, complaining it was more lecture than entertainment. The wave of digital mockery soon spilled into real-world actions, with certain store owners deciding to pull Snow White merchandise off the shelves to minimize their losses. Officially, Disney executives spoke of creative risks and the inevitable challenges of modernizing a timeless tale. They insisted the film was an attempt to highlight Snow White's bravery and leadership, portraying her as a strong individual who doesn't require a prince. Press releases used words like inclusive, bold, and visionary. But behind the scenes, rumors hinted at desperate last-ditch efforts. Anonymous insiders whispered about frantic late-stage editing, possible reshoots, and heated conference calls with marketing teams. Some even speculated that there might be liability concerns over misleading marketing promises, although nothing concrete has surfaced. Meanwhile, staffers talked of sinking morale. One employee reportedly called the movie "Snow Wrong," capturing the exasperated mood in a pithy phrase. This debacle isn't happening in a vacuum. Rival studios and independent filmmakers alike are taking notes. The lesson? Nostalgia is powerful, but it's also fragile. Modern updates should be woven carefully lest they alienate the core audience. Digital wizardry and star power alone can't salvage a fundamentally flawed approach, and turning a beloved character into a vehicle for heavy-handed moralizing is a surefire way to spark mass indignation. In an era when reboots and sequels dominate the box office, the Snow White fiasco has become a watchword for caution. The broader industry conversation is shifting from how can we cash in on nostalgia to how do we handle legacy properties without destroying their soul. Other major studios are rumored to be pumping the brakes on similarly radical reimaginings, worried about repeating Disney's error and facing the same withering spotlight. So here we stand at the end of a saga that was supposed to shimmer with fresh enchantment, but instead descended into fiasco. The breakdown of Snow White 2025 is more than an isolated incident. It's a wake-up call about the delicate balance between honoring the past and embracing the future. Rachel Zegler's bold remarks, the jarring script changes, and the staggering box office flop have all coalesced into a single towering lesson for the entertainment world. Even giants must tread carefully when rewriting icons. Where does that leave fans? Some are done, finished with Disney's live-action reimaginings and unsubscribing from the brand altogether. Others cling to the hope that this epic misfire will force a course correction, ushering in better scripts and more respectful handling of the classics. And then there are those watching from the sidelines, enthralled by the drama, waiting to see if Disney can salvage its battered reputation. Perhaps, just perhaps, the House of Mouse will remember what made it a cornerstone of dreams in the first place. Heartfelt storytelling that resonates across ages, free from posturing or needless arrogance. No fairy tale ending is guaranteed here, but if there's any moral to glean, it's that a remake must blend reverence for the source material with a dash of innovation, not bury its foundations under layers of controversy and misguided reinvention. Only time will tell if Disney can find its way back to the magic that once left generations spellbound. For now, consider this chapter closed until the next wave of revelations emerges from the kingdom of corporate reinvention, reminding us once again that even the brightest crowns can slip and that happy endings are never set in stone.